Lisa walked slowly through the empty streets as the sun began to set behind the tall buildings. Her footsteps echoed against the quiet pavement, but she barely heard the sound. Everything around her felt distant and unclear, like she was watching the world through thick glass. The heavy feeling in her chest had been there for months now, growing stronger each day until it felt impossible to breathe normally. She pulled her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders as the evening air grew cold. The jacket was old and had several small holes, but it was the only one she owned now. 3 weeks ago, she had to sell most of her clothes to pay for food. The money was almost gone too, and tomorrow she would have nothing left. Lisa remembered the morning when everything started falling apart. It was a Tuesday in March when her boss called her into his office. She had worked at the small coffee shop for 2 years, always arriving early and staying late when needed. But business was slow, and they had to let someone go. "I'm sorry, Lisa," her boss had said, not meeting her eyes. "You're a good worker, but we just can't afford to keep everyone." That same week, her best friend Emma stopped returning her phone calls. Lisa had tried to talk to Emma about how sad and worried she felt all the time, but Emma seemed tired of hearing about her problems. "You need to just think positive thoughts," Emma had said during their last conversation. "All this negative talk is bringing me down too." After that, Emma found excuses not to meet for lunch or go to movies like they used to do. One by one, other friends began to distance themselves too. They stopped inviting Lisa to parties and group dinners. When she did see them, they would give her quick smiles and change the subject when she tried to share how she was feeling. Soon, Lisa realized that her sadness was making everyone uncomfortable. People wanted to be around happy, fun friends, not someone who always seemed worried and upset. Living alone in her small apartment became harder each day. Lisa would wake up in the morning and lie in bed for hours, staring at the ceiling. Simple tasks like making breakfast or taking a shower felt like climbing a mountain. She started eating less, partly because she had no appetite and partly because she was running out of money for groceries. Her landlord, Mr. Johnson, had been patient at first when Lisa explained that she lost her job. "Don't worry about it this month," he had said kindly. "Things will get better soon." But when the second month came and Lisa still couldn't pay rent, his attitude changed. "I'm sorry, but I have bills to pay too," he told her. "You have until the end of this month to find the money or you'll have to leave." Lisa spent weeks looking for another job, but every place she applied either didn't call back or told her they hired someone else. She tried to smile during interviews and sound cheerful, but she could see in people's faces that something was wrong with the way she presented herself. The sadness she carried seemed to show no matter how hard she tried to hide it. As days passed, Lisa began to feel invisible. She would walk through the city and feel like no one really saw her. People hurried past on the sidewalks, talking on phones or laughing with friends, and Lisa felt like she was watching life happen around her without being part of it. The loneliness grew so heavy that sometimes she had to sit down on park benches because her legs felt too weak to carry her. At night, Lisa would lie awake thinking about all the things that went wrong and wondering if she had done something to deserve such pain. She remembered being a child who loved to draw pictures and tell stories to her stuffed animals. That little girl had dreams of becoming an artist or a teacher, someone who would make the world a little brighter. But somewhere along the way, that hopeful child got lost, and Lisa couldn't find her way back to those dreams. Her family lived far away in another state, and Lisa felt too ashamed to call them. Her parents had always expected great things from her, and she couldn't bear the thought of telling them how badly everything had gone wrong. Her younger brother Mark had just started college and was doing well in his studies. Lisa didn't want to burden him with her problems when he was working so hard to build his future. The worst part was the voice in her head that seemed to whisper cruel things all day long. It told her that she was worthless and that nobody would miss her if she disappeared. The voice said she was just a burden to everyone around her and that the world would be better without her sadness bringing others down. Lisa tried to argue with this voice, but it grew louder and more convincing as weeks passed. She started having dreams about floating away, becoming light as air and drifting up to the clouds where nothing could hurt anymore. In these dreams, she felt peaceful for the first time in months. When she woke up, the heavy feeling in her chest returned, and reality felt too hard to face. That morning, Lisa received the final notice from her landlord. She had 3 days to pay what she owed or leave the apartment. She sat on her bed holding the paper, reading the words over and over until they blurred together. The last bit of hope she had been holding on to finally cracked and broke apart. Lisa walked to the bathroom and looked at herself in the mirror. Her face was pale and thin, and her eyes looked empty. She barely recognized the person staring back at her. "What happened to you?" she whispered to her reflection, but the mirror had no answers. She thought about calling the crisis helpline number she had seen on a poster at the bus stop, but the voice in her head told her that would just be bothering people who had real problems to solve. Lisa believed she was beyond help, that her sadness was too deep and dark for anyone to understand or fix. As evening approached, Lisa put on her jacket and walked outside. She didn't have a plan, but her feet seemed to know where they were going. She found herself walking toward the old stone bridge at the edge of town, the one that crossed over the deep river. She had walked across this bridge many times before when she needed to think, but tonight felt different. The bridge was empty except for a few cars passing by occasionally. Lisa walked to the middle and stopped, placing her hands on the cold stone railing. The water below moved quickly and quietly, reflecting the last light of the day. Standing there, Lisa felt smaller than she ever had before, like a tiny speck in a huge world that didn't notice her pain. The voice in her head grew louder, telling her that this was the answer to all her problems. No more worry about rent or jobs or friends who didn't want to hear about her sadness. No more waking up each day feeling like she was drowning in invisible water. Just peace and quiet and an end to the heavy feeling that made everything so hard. Lisa gripped the railing tighter and closed her eyes, feeling the evening wind on her face. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she thought about all the things she would never get to do, all the dreams she had given up on. But the pain felt too strong to carry anymore, and she couldn't imagine how tomorrow could be any different from today. Just as Lisa took a step closer to the edge and prepared to climb over the railing, she heard something that made her freeze. Small footsteps were coming across the bridge behind her, along with a tiny voice humming a cheerful tune. Lisa turned slightly and saw a little girl walking toward her, clutching a worn teddy bear and swinging a small backpack. Lisa stood frozen at the bridge railing as the sound of small footsteps grew closer. She quickly wiped the tears from her face and tried to look normal, not wanting to scare a child. When she turned around, she saw a little girl who looked to be about 7 years old. The girl had curly brown hair tied back with a pink ribbon and wore a yellow dress that was a bit too big for her. She carried a teddy bear that was clearly very old and well loved. The little girl stopped a few feet away from Lisa and tilted her head to one side, studying her with curious eyes. "Hi," she said in a bright voice that cut through the heavy silence of the evening. "Are you okay? You look really sad." Lisa was surprised by the directness of the question. Most adults would have walked past without saying anything, but this child seemed genuinely concerned. "I'm fine," Lisa said automatically, though her voice came out shaky and unconvincing. The little girl stepped closer, hugging her teddy bear tighter. "My name is Maya," she said. "What's your name?" "Lisa," she replied, not knowing what else to say. She had expected the child to keep walking, but Maya seemed in no hurry to leave. Maya looked at Lisa's face carefully, then at her hands gripping the bridge railing. "My grandma always says that when someone looks the way you look, they need a friend," Maya said matter-of-factly. "She's really smart about feelings and stuff." Lisa felt a strange mixture of emotions. Part of her wanted to tell Maya to go home before it got too dark, but another part felt curious about this bold little girl who talked to strangers without fear. "Shouldn't you be getting home?" Lisa asked. "It's almost dark." "I'm walking home from my grandma's house," Maya explained, pointing down the road beyond the bridge. "She lives on this side, and me and my mom live on the other side." I walk this way every Tuesday after school because that's when Grandma makes chocolate chip cookies, and she always saves some for me. Maya shifted her teddy bear to one arm and reached into her small backpack. She pulled out a paper bag and opened it to show Lisa 3 cookies wrapped in a napkin. "Want one?" she offered. "Grandma always gives me extra in case I meet someone who needs a cookie. She says cookies make everything a little better." Lisa stared at the offered cookies, feeling overwhelmed by such simple kindness. "That's very sweet, but you should save them for yourself," she said. Maya shook her head firmly. "Grandma says sharing good things makes them even better. Besides, you look like you haven't eaten anything good in a long time." The observation was more accurate than Lisa wanted to admit. She couldn't remember the last time she had eaten something just because it tasted good rather than because she needed food to survive. "Thank you," she said quietly, taking one of the cookies. It was still slightly warm and tasted like vanilla and butter and everything comforting about childhood. "See?" Maya said with satisfaction, watching Lisa take a small bite. "Grandma's never wrong about the cookie thing." She sat down on the sidewalk of the bridge, patting the ground beside her. "Want to sit? My feet get tired from all the walking." Lisa hesitated for a moment, then slowly sat down next to Maya. It felt strange to be sitting on the ground in her good clothes, but Maya made it seem like the most natural thing in the world. "This is Mr. Bear," Maya said, introducing her teddy bear. "He's been with me since I was really little. Want to say hi?" Lisa looked at the teddy bear, which was brown and fuzzy but clearly showed signs of many years of love. One of his button eyes was slightly loose, and his left ear had been sewn back on with different colored thread. "Hi, Mr. Bear," Lisa said softly, feeling a bit silly but not wanting to disappoint Maya. Maya smiled widely. "He likes you. I can tell because his good ear is pointing toward you. That's how he shows he's listening." Despite everything, Lisa felt her mouth turn up slightly at the corners. It was the first time she had almost smiled in weeks. "How can you tell he's listening?" "Practice," Maya said seriously. "Me and Mr. Bear have been best friends for a long time, so I know all his different expressions. Want to know a secret about him?" Lisa nodded, finding herself genuinely curious. Maya leaned closer and lowered her voice as if sharing something very important. "Mr. Bear used to be really broken. Like, really really broken. When I first got him from the thrift store, his stuffing was coming out of a big hole in his tummy, and both his arms were hanging by just a few threads. My mom wanted to throw him away because she said he was too damaged to fix." Maya paused to take a bite of her own cookie before continuing. "But my grandma saw how much I loved him, even though he was all messed up. She said broken things can be the most beautiful when someone cares enough to help them heal. So she spent a whole weekend fixing Mr. Bear. She sewed up his tummy, reattached his arms, and even gave him a new eye when one fell out." Lisa listened intently, feeling like this story was somehow important in a way she couldn't quite understand. "The best part," Maya continued, "is that Grandma didn't try to make him look like a brand new bear. She used different colored thread on purpose, and she left some of the places where you can see he was hurt before. She said his scars tell the story of how he survived and got stronger." Maya held up Mr. Bear so Lisa could see the careful stitching that held him together. "Now he's even more special than he was before he got broken. Grandma says that's how it works with everything, hearts, toys, people, everything. The broken places can become the strongest parts if someone helps with love." Lisa felt her throat tighten as she looked at the teddy bear's mismatched repairs. There was something beautiful about how the different colored threads created a pattern that was unique and clearly made with care. "Sometimes I feel broken too," Maya said, her voice becoming more serious. "Like when kids at school are mean to me because my dad doesn't live with us anymore, or when I hear my mom crying at night when she thinks I'm asleep. But then I remember Mr. Bear's story, and I think maybe being a little broken just means there's room for someone to help make me stronger." Lisa stared at this wise little girl who talked about deep things with such simple honesty. You're very smart for someone so young, she said. Maya shrugged. Grandma says I'm an old soul in a little body. I don't really know what that means, but I think it's good. She looked directly at Lisa with eyes that seemed much older than 7. You feel really broken right now, don't you? The question was asked so gently and with such understanding that Lisa felt tears start to form again. She nodded, not trusting her voice to speak. I thought so, Maya said matter-of-factly. That's okay though. Being broken isn't the end of the story. It's just the part before someone helps you get fixed up with love, like what happened to Mr. Bear. Maya stood up and dusted off her yellow dress, then held out Mr. Bear toward Lisa. Want to hold him for a while? He's really good at making people feel less alone. Grandma says he has magic powers for helping with sad feelings. Lisa looked at the offered teddy bear, then at Maya's earnest face. Slowly, she reached out and took Mr. Bear in her arms. He was soft and warm from being held, and he smelled faintly of vanilla and something that reminded Lisa of safety. There, Maya said with satisfaction. Now you're not alone anymore. Mr. Bear is really good at keeping people company when everything feels too hard. Holding the teddy bear, Lisa felt something shift inside her chest. Not the heavy, crushing feeling going away completely, but something else, a tiny spark of warmth that she had forgotten was possible. For the first time in months, she didn't feel completely invisible. Maya, Lisa said quietly, where did you learn to be so kind? Maya sat back down next to Lisa, leaning against her arm like they were old friends. From my grandma mostly. She used to help people who felt really sad and scared as her job before she got old. She taught me that everyone needs someone to care about them, especially when they can't care about themselves. Maya looked up at Lisa with those wise eyes. Grandma always says that angels come in all different shapes and sizes. Sometimes they're big and have wings like in pictures, but sometimes they're just regular people who show up exactly when someone needs them most. As if by magic, Maya's words seemed to create a small crack in the wall of hopelessness that had surrounded Lisa for so long. She clutched Mr. Bear closer and felt, for the first time in months, that maybe tomorrow didn't have to be exactly like today. Come on, Maya said suddenly, standing up and reaching for Lisa's hand. Let's go see Grandma. She makes the best hot chocolate in the world, and I bet she'd want to meet you. She always says her house is open to anyone who needs a safe place to sit for a while. Lisa looked down at Maya's small hand extended toward her, then at the bridge railing she had been gripping so tightly just minutes before. Everything felt different now, like the world had shifted into softer focus. Okay, Lisa said, surprising herself. Let's go meet your grandma. Maya held Lisa's hand as they walked away from the bridge together. Lisa clutched Mr. Bear in her other arm, feeling the soft warmth of the teddy bear against her chest. She couldn't quite believe she was following a 7-year-old girl to meet a stranger, but something about Maya made her feel safe in a way she hadn't felt in months. They walked along a quiet street lined with small houses, each with its own little garden. Maya chatted cheerfully as they went, pointing out different flowers and telling Lisa about the neighbors she knew. That's Mrs. Chen's house, Maya said, gesturing to a blue house with white shutters. She grows the prettiest roses and always waves when I walk by. And over there is where Mr. Rodriguez lives. He has a dog named Pepper who loves to chase butterflies. Lisa listened to Maya's happy chatter and felt amazed at how the little girl saw good things everywhere she looked. It was like Maya carried her own sunshine that made everything around her seem brighter and more hopeful. Here we are, Maya announced as they stopped in front of a small yellow house with a wraparound porch. The house looked warm and welcoming, with flower boxes under every window and a wooden swing hanging from the porch ceiling. Golden light spilled out through the windows, and Lisa could smell something wonderful cooking inside. Maya bounded up the porch steps and opened the front door without knocking. Grandma, I'm home, she called out. And I brought someone special to meet you. A voice from inside the house replied, come on in, sweetheart. I just took some fresh bread out of the oven. Maya turned to Lisa, who was hesitating at the bottom of the porch steps. "Come on," Maya encouraged. "Grandma doesn't bite, I promise. She's the nicest person in the whole world." Lisa took a deep breath and followed Maya into the house. The inside was just as warm and cozy as it looked from outside. The walls were painted soft colors and covered with family photographs. Bookshelves lined the hallway, filled with well-read books, and the air smelled like cinnamon and vanilla. They walked into the kitchen, where an elderly woman was pulling a loaf of bread from the oven. She was small and round with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She wore a floral apron over her dress and moved with the gentle confidence of someone who had spent many years taking care of others. "Grandma, this is Lisa," Maya said, practically bouncing with excitement. She was feeling really sad on the bridge, so I gave her a cookie and let her hold Mr. Bear. Now she's coming for hot chocolate because I told her you make the best kind in the universe. The woman, who Lisa now knew was Rose, set down the bread and turned to face them. Her eyes immediately found Lisa's face, and Lisa felt like Rose could see right through to all the pain she was carrying. But instead of judgment or pity, Rose's expression showed only warmth and understanding. "Hello, Lisa," Rose said gently. "I'm Rose, Maya's grandmother. It's wonderful to meet you." She gestured toward a round kitchen table surrounded by mismatched chairs. "Please, have a seat. Maya's absolutely right about the hot chocolate, it's my specialty." Lisa sat down at the table, still holding Mr. Bear. Maya plopped down in the chair beside her and immediately started telling Rose all about their meeting on the bridge. As Maya chattered, Rose moved around the kitchen, heating milk in a pot and gathering mugs and marshmallows. "So I told her about how you fixed Mr. Bear with love," Maya was saying, "and how broken things can become even more beautiful when someone cares enough to help them heal. And then I shared my cookies because you always say sharing good things makes them better." Rose smiled at her granddaughter's earnest retelling. "You did exactly right, sweetheart," she said, bringing 3 steaming mugs to the table. The hot chocolate was rich and creamy, topped with tiny marshmallows that slowly melted into sweet swirls. As they sat drinking their hot chocolate, Rose asked Lisa gentle questions about herself. Unlike the job interviewers or casual acquaintances who had made Lisa feel like she needed to put on a happy mask, Rose seemed genuinely interested in understanding who Lisa really was beneath all the sadness. "Maya tells me you were having a difficult evening," Rose said carefully. "Sometimes it helps to talk about what's weighing on your heart." Lisa found herself opening up in a way she hadn't done with anyone in months. She told Rose about losing her job and how her friends had gradually drifted away. She talked about the shame she felt about not being able to pay her rent and how invisible she had begun to feel in the world. Most importantly, she shared about the dark thoughts that had been growing stronger each day and how close she had come to giving up entirely. Rose listened without interrupting, nodding occasionally and making soft sounds of understanding. Maya sat quietly beside them, occasionally reaching over to pat Lisa's arm or adjust Mr. Bear in her lap. When Lisa finished talking, Rose reached across the table and gently covered Lisa's hand with her own. "Thank you for trusting us with your story," she said. "What you're feeling is real and valid, and you're not alone in experiencing it. Many people go through times when life feels too heavy to carry." Rose explained that before she retired, she had worked as a counselor helping people who were struggling with feelings just like Lisa's. "The most important thing I learned," Rose said, "is that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of courage. It takes strength to reach out when you're drowning." That evening, Rose helped Lisa make phone calls to local resources that could provide assistance. They found a crisis helpline that Lisa could call anytime she felt overwhelmed, and Rose gave her the number for a counselor who specialized in helping people through difficult transitions. Rose also helped Lisa apply for temporary assistance programs that could help with food and housing while she got back on her feet. "You don't have to figure everything out tonight," Rose said as she drove Lisa home later that evening. "Healing happens one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time. The important thing is that you're not facing it alone anymore." Maya insisted that Lisa keep Mr. Bear for the night. He's really good at chasing away bad dreams, she explained seriously. Just hug him tight if the sad feelings come back, and remember that me and Grandma are thinking about you. Over the following weeks, Lisa began to see Rose regularly for informal counseling sessions. Rose had offered her services for free, saying that helping Lisa was a gift to her as much as it was to Lisa. Sometimes God sends us exactly the person we need to help, Rose explained. You're giving me purpose in my retirement. Maya became a regular part of Lisa's life too. The little girl would visit Lisa's apartment building and sit with her on the front steps, sharing stories about school and asking Lisa about her dreams and interests. Maya had a way of making Lisa remember parts of herself she had forgotten existed. With Rose's encouragement, Lisa started applying for jobs again, but this time with better preparation and support. Rose helped her practice interviews and talked her through strategies for managing anxiety. When Lisa finally got hired at a local library, Maya insisted on making her a congratulations card decorated with drawings of books and smiley faces. As months passed, Lisa's life slowly began to stabilize. She was able to catch up on her rent and eventually moved to a small but cheerful apartment closer to Rose and Maya. The heavy feeling in her chest didn't disappear overnight, but it began to lift gradually, like clouds clearing after a long storm. The most significant change came when Lisa started volunteering at the crisis helpline that Rose had connected her with. Using her own experience of dark times, Lisa was able to talk to other people who were struggling with similar feelings. She found that helping others process their pain actually helped her continue healing from her own. It's amazing how sharing your story can help both you and the person listening, Rose observed one day as they had lunch together. Your experience with suffering has become a source of strength that you can offer to others. Maya, now 8 years old, beamed with pride whenever she heard about Lisa's volunteer work. See? I told you that you just needed someone to help fix you up with love, she said. Now you're helping other people get fixed up too. It's like a circle of helping that goes around and around. 1 year after that night on the bridge, Lisa, Maya, and Rose returned to the same spot for a special ceremony. Lisa brought flowers to place in the river, not as a goodbye to life, but as a thank you for the second chance she had been given. This bridge used to represent an ending for me, Lisa said as they stood together watching the water flow beneath them. Now it represents a beginning. This is where I met the two people who taught me that broken doesn't mean worthless, and that sometimes the most beautiful healing happens when we least expect it. Maya, now missing 2 front teeth but still carrying the same wise spirit, grinned up at Lisa. And Mr. Bear says he's really proud of how strong you got, she added, holding up the teddy bear who had played such an important role in Lisa's healing journey. Rose smiled at both of them, her eyes bright with tears of joy. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes, she said. Maya offering you a cookie and a teddy bear's comfort opened the door for so much healing and growth. As they walked away from the bridge together, Lisa realized that her story wasn't one of nearly ending, but of truly beginning. The dark night that had almost consumed her had become the foundation for a life filled with purpose, connection, and the deep satisfaction that comes from helping others find their way back to hope. The bridge that once represented despair had become a symbol of the connections that bind people together in love, understanding, and mutual support. And Lisa knew that wherever her path led next, she would carry with her the lessons learned from a 7-year-old angel and her grandmother who believed in the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds.